Hello, and welcome to this training video, Interviewing Fundamentals. The most important aspects of interviewing are asking good questions and documenting answers. The ultimate outcome is to find the right candidate and create a positive experience for all involved. A helpful reminder is the saying, hire harder to manage easier. Putting more time into writing good questions and preparing will help you hire the right candidate for the role. In this video, we're going to cover preparing for the interview, setting the stage, managing the conversation, documentation, and common pitfalls to avoid. In preparation, allocate large blocks of time to group your interviews together. It can become challenging to remember specific candidate conversations when interviews are spaced days apart. Determine panelists of internal customers, team members, and those who have upstream and downstream impacts to the position for which you're hiring. Ensure each panelist knows the process you plan to follow and has materials in advance. Read resumes, cover letters, and applications ahead of time and make notes for inconsistencies or questions that you have for each candidate. Build an interview guide of structured questions based on the job description and ensure all panelists have copies of all materials in advance. Setting the stage. Be on time and stay on schedule. It's likely that you have back-to-back interviews and it can be all too easy to run behind schedule. If this is an in-person interview, ensure the interview takes place in a large enough space to comfortably and safely accommodate everyone. The environment should be neat and quiet. Offer the candidate a beverage and do what you can to help them feel welcome and comfortable. Give the interviewee and the process your full attention. Only use your phone for timekeeping, not phone calls or texts. Meet the candidate. Use friendly demeanor and engage in small talk such as, "It's nice to meet you," or "Did you have any trouble finding us?" There is risk that additional small talk can lead into areas of conversation that are not relevant to the position, such as where they were born or family status, and this causes risk. Managing the conversation. During the interview, remain attentive and watch nonverbal communication. Follow your interview guide and ask the same questions of every candidate, taking notes to document the key actions and results from the examples they provide. As a best practice, you should only talk 30% of the time or less. You will provide information about the company and the position as well as yourself. You will also answer questions that they have throughout and at the end of the interview. Remember, you want to learn as much as you can about their knowledge, skills, and abilities, called KSAs, and you are assessing their potential fit within the team. The more talking they do, the more data you'll have to inform your decision. Each question should take 3 to 4 minutes to be asked and answered, including follow-ups or clarifying questions. Sometimes candidates get a little long-winded due to the complexity of their examples, their nerves, or other factors. To keep the interview on schedule, you may have to nudge a candidate to wrap up a story. Tactfully try a statement such as, "And what was the final result?" Or, "We want to learn as much as we can about you, so please be a bit more concise with your responses." If the candidate didn't answer your question as intended, ask a follow-up question or perhaps rephrase the question and give them one additional opportunity. If you're still unsatisfied, keep moving and come back to that question at the end if time allows. What do you do if you know early on that the candidate is not the right choice? Keep going and documenting answers to be polite and courteous. Candidates often go online and write reviews about the recruitment process. So it's important to remember you are representing yourself, the company, and its employment brand in this process. It's essential that candidates come away with a positive perception of all three. There are questions to avoid in the interview process. Avoid asking about national origin, race, sexual orientation, marital status, children, criminal convictions, medical conditions or history, or anything else that can't be tied directly back to the KSAs of the position. Your HR resources can guide you through the proper approaches and timing to ask bona fide occupational qualification questions about eligibility to work in the U.S., physical abilities to do the job within the job description, and someone's ability to work overtime if required. True or false? It's okay to ask a question on these topics if the candidate brought it up first. If they open the door, I can walk through it. And that's false. It creates risk to engage in those conversations at any time, and it can also put you off schedule if the conversation goes in a direction you hadn't planned. Documentation. With each story and example provided, write a brief summary of the situation, the actions taken, and the result. Staying on time in the interview will mean that you need to write quickly and not in complete sentences. At the conclusion of the interview or block of interviews, you will type your notes and candidate feedback into the HRIS system, which allows you to be more complete and document the conversation in complete sentences and complete thoughts. As you take notes, document specific statements and observable behaviors. Avoid documenting decisions about the candidate or the process at this stage. It's premature until all the interviews are complete. In addition, avoid making notes on any of the subjects for which you should not ask questions, like national origin, race, marital status, gender, etc. At the conclusion of the interview, give them time to ask questions. Be prepared to answer questions about the responsibilities of the position, why the position is open, and what it's like to work at the company. Ensure you provide an overview of next steps, when they can expect to hear back, and from whom they could expect to be contacted. Thank them warmly for their time and see them out or onto the next person that they're scheduled to meet with. There are common pitfalls to avoid. Number 1 is not matching the interviewee's level of preparation and enthusiasm. They have likely spent time researching the company, looking at the LinkedIn profiles of the panelists, and preparing good questions. When the interviewer doesn't come close to the same level of preparedness, it is disappointing, and it has the candidate jump to conclusions that may or may not be true about the company, you, or the candidate experience that you want them to have. Number 2, putting candidates in the job. It's very common for an interviewer to phrase a question or a statement such as, "In this role, you'll enter POs into the procurement system." Putting them in the job within that statement gets them excited and sends the message that you already see them in the position. The third pitfall is answering the question for them. This may sound like, "So you'd say you're a people person." They could enthusiastically say yes, but you haven't really learned anything new about them. Number 4, inadvertently generalizing or describing the team in a manner that makes someone think they wouldn't fit in. "My guys are really a great team. They have each other's backs at work and off the clock." Number 5, not allowing them time to ask questions. The interview is a two-way street. As you're trying to learn about the candidate, they're also trying to learn about working for you and the company. So it's a missed opportunity to not see how they prepared for the interview by allowing them to ask their questions. The questions they ask can tell you a great deal about their preparation and what's important to them. Number 6 is dominating the conversation about you and your background when the goal is to learn as much as you can about them. Remember the 30% rule. Some interviewers are great storytellers and enjoy speaking about their role so much. They're also doing a sales pitch for the candidate throughout the discussion, which instead could be concentrated at the introduction and the conclusion of the interview, allowing space for the candidate to tell their story in the middle. And number 7 is getting overly chummy. This can influence your hiring decision to select the person you liked the most rather than the person most qualified for the position. Again, keep the conversation friendly but focused on the role. In this video, we covered preparing for the interview, setting the stage, managing the conversation, documentation, and common pitfalls to avoid. Remember, hire harder to manage easier. Thank you.